Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, a Beantown Friday edition of the Ice Guys presented by Boston Hemp Inc. Friday, May 10th, Ian Cameron. Solo show, although Jimmy Murphy, our Friday friend, who often joins us this day of the week, will try to pop in for a few minutes later in the show. It's a busy day. He's got his own show to do with Pierre Maguire. He's traveling to TD Garden, covering Game 3 tonight with the Panthers and Bruins, but we'll try to get a couple of minutes in with Jimmy Murphy later in the show. But looking forward to another big night, as I seem to be redundant saying that, but every night's a big night of NHL playoff action at this time of year. We have Game 3, Florida-Boston, as the scene shifts to TD Garden in Beantown. Fitting that we got a Bruins home game on a Beantown Friday, the Ice Guys show. And then, of course, Game 2, Edmonton-Vancouver, the second game tonight. So very much looking forward to those. Before we get to that, let's look back, as we always do, at the games last night. And we start off with the Rangers and the Hurricanes, and it really looks like and feels like wash, rinse, repeat in this series. You know, Carolina, especially when you compare Game 3 last night for Carolina to how it went for them in Game 2. You know, they had the shots, they had the offensive zone time, they get 5-on-5 even strength. You can make the case they carried the play more than the New York Rangers did last night in that game. But at the end of the day, they've been destroyed in this series by special teams, which came back to haunt them again. Their own power play just cannot convert, just cannot produce right now. And you give the New York Rangers all the credit, and Igor Shesterkin in particular, you know, all the credit for that. And at the end of the day, too, Carolina's own penalty kill has failed them in this series. There's no question. Although last night, for a change, you know, that wasn't the main problem. The power play was the main problem. That part of the special teams issues for Carolina last night were still there, and were still prevalent throughout Game 3 last night. But, you know, they actually did hold the Rangers scoreless on the power play. But when you look at special teams, it still was 1-0 Rangers, because one of their goals was a shorthanded goal courtesy of Chris Kreider, just a backbreaker at the time when Carolina was still up 1-0, was really carrying the play at that very strong first period that we all expected them to. And all I can say in the Rangers win last night, 3-2, obviously, in overtime, is I sure as hell picked the right way to go about it with Carolina last night. Because I said it on yesterday's show. I don't trust this team for the full game. I don't trust this team to win the full game for the full game. I didn't want any part of them in that minus 170 price range that they were to win Game 3 last night. But what I did trust them was early in the game. That's when I trusted them. I trusted them to come out strong, trusted them to get on the board early, which they did with the Jake Gensel deflection goal about halfway through the first period. I trusted them to maybe have the lead after the first period, which they did. And the way I approached it worked out well. So it's kind of one of those weird scenarios where I see I know a bunch of people that had Carolina, you know, puck line, Carolina money line. They laid the big price, and there's other people that I know are good NHL bettors that were on Carolina for the full game in some form, and they're just expressing such disappointment and so upset, you know, that they found a way to lose that game. And I'm like, I'm feeling pretty good myself because I just picked the right route, if you will, to back this Carolina team, and that was early. You know, we cashed Carolina to score in the first period. We cashed the best bet on the show, which was Carolina first period puck line -0.5 plus 165. And I said, once those two things cashed, I'm like, well, anything can happen now. Whatever happens, happens. That's not going to be a big concern for me. So it was really good when you look at a game specifically and you say, you know what, there's a specific way to go about betting this team for profits. And there's a specific way to maybe avoid betting a certain team to avoid losing. And, man, we nailed it with this Rangers-Hurricanes game. We said Carolina early, but don't trust them for the full game, and that's exactly how it played out. What can you say about Shesterkin? at this point that hasn't already been said. He's just been spectacular. He's no doubt going to win the Conn Smythe Trophy if the Rangers win the Stanley Cup. There's no question about that. He is getting it. He's just been just completely in control, square to the shot, just seeing the puck no matter where it's coming from toward net. He's just been on top of things right from the very beginning, and he's certainly been better than the goaltender at the other end, whether it was Frederik Andersen in the first 2 games or, of course, Pyotr Kochetkov last night, who got the start in Game 3. At the end of the day, this Carolina power play has been terrible. The special teams have been bad. And then last night, even 5-on-5, the Rangers, 2 of their goals were at even strength. So, yeah, and here's the thing that you got to avoid here as far as looking at this series and talking about how it's this great shame, this great, just this absolute travesty to the game of hockey that the Carolina Hurricanes are down 3-0 in this series when in some people's minds they've been the much better team in this series. That's where I have some issues. If you want to go down the route of saying Carolina's had the better play 5-on-5, the better play at even strength, they'd probably deserve a much better fate at even strength in this series. Yeah, I can agree with that. I can sign off on that. I can get down with that. No question about that. But if you're going to say now, after another loss last night, to the New York Rangers to go down 3-0 in this series, that Carolina's been the better team. I'm even hearing some things that from people online that Carolina's been a much better team in this series. They're using the word much, as in much better team that Carolina's been in this series. I can't agree to that. I can't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I don't understand that whatsoever. Here's the thing, okay? 5-on-5 territorially, offensive zone time, possession, all that stuff, that's fine. That's great. Carolina probably has had the better of it over the New York Rangers. But let me tell you something about the way the Stanley Cup playoffs work, okay? Winning faceoffs matters. Rangers have been pretty good. Offensive game breaker talent showing up when it matters the most, that matters. Hence Alexi Lafreniere, hence Mika Zibanejad, hence Chris Kreider, hence Vincent Trocheck, hence Artemi Panarin last night with the overtime winner. Offensive game breakers finishing their chances matter in a Stanley Cup play. Look at Toronto in the first round. Offensive game breakers up and down the lineup. How did that go for them? You've got to finish at this time of year. 40 shots is great. 50 shots the other night in Game 2 for Carolina. Phenomenal. Terrific. You're getting the chances. You're doing a lot of good things. You got to put the puck in the freaking net. Okay? And if you don't do that, and I don't care if it's Igor Shesterkin, I don't care if it's Dominik Hasek, Grant Fuhr, Ken Dryden, Bernie Parent, you go on down, Patrick Waugh, you go on down the list of any great goaltender in this sport in the history. You got to finish at this time of year. You can't just totally chalk it up to say, hey, the goaltender's been incredible. You've just got to be surgical, clinical, bury your chances, not miss the net either, like Marty Necas did a few times last night. Disappointing from him, quite honestly, the whole series, the way he's played. And we like Marty Necas, but he's not finishing his chances. And you can tell Shesterkin has been so good that Carolina's trying to be too fine with their shots. We see this crap all the time, especially in the playoffs at this time of year. When a goalie is playing that well, it's almost like you're trying to be too cute with the shot and you're trying to pick a corner, hit right underneath the crossbar, pick the top shelf. Whereas you stop thinking about just pound the thing on net, drive the net, look for rebounds, look for second and third chances, that kind of thing. And Carolina is in that rut right now where, yeah, they're generating still a lot of chances and a lot of shots like last night, but they're trying to be too cute. They're not simplifying things. Shesterkin is in their head a little bit, and why wouldn't he be? He's been absolutely tremendous here in this series, but you can tell, that's been an issue. Carolina, and John's right, their only goals have been deflections. That tells you how good Shesterkin's been. That's number one. Really, the only goals that have gone past them, have been deflections. And number two is, like I said, you can't call it a great scoring chance if you're not hitting the net and if you're trying to be too fine. And I think Carolina's in that kind of a rut right now, and they're not getting those second and third looks, and they are being kept to the outside. So the Rangers have to be credit. I don't think the Rangers defense gets enough credit. Andre Miller is a tough guy to play against in his own end. He's come a long way defensively. Ryan Lindgren is a nasty, to steal a Pierre Maguire term, you can tell I watched the eye test, is a nasty piece of business, as he would say. That's what Ryan Lindgren is. It's hard as fuck to play against, defense like that. Jacob Trouba, who's taken no prisoners, who, runs anyone he can into the ditch, as another great broadcaster, Doc Emmerich, would say, who's blocking a million shots left and right. The sacrifice, the shot blocking of that guy, again last night, just outstanding, and just commitment to victory and getting the job done. Miller, Schneider, another one that's come a long way. Braden Schneider's come a very long way. Andre Miller's come a very long way. And I think in years past, we've questioned some of the depth on that Rangers blue line where, you get past Adam Fox, you get past Jacob Trouba and some of the, top 2, top 3 defense. What do they have there? Well, what do they have is the guys that keep getting better and have gotten better. And you know what they've done? They've gotten better under this coach and this coaching staff. Laviolette, Pekka, and this entire Rangers coaching staff, they've pushed the right buttons. They've made players better this year. They've developed players this year. They're a harder defense to play against. Their special teams has been so much better. They're winning faceoffs way more often. They're physical now. They're a tough team to play against. They got a much greater physicality quotient than we've seen from the New York Rangers in years past. And then, of course, they've got just this brick wall of a goaltender as the icing on the cake. And that's how you end up being 7-0 in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm buying in now. And to Sancho's point, Ian's finally given the Rangers some respect. I wasn't willing to give the Rangers respect after Washington because I thought Washington stunk, flat out. I did not think Washington was any fucking good in that series. And anyone that watched those 4 games knows that Washington was terrible. That was not a playoff caliber, playoff quality opponent. I'm sorry, they weren't. They just weren't. They were not even close to being in a level of a really, really strong, good playoff team. I thought Carolina was going to be a hell of a lot tougher for the New York Rangers. And yeah, they have been. These have been close games. These have been, it was a 1-goal game in game 1. It was an overtime game in game 2 and in game 3. Let's not act like the Rangers have walked all over the Hurricanes. They have not. Obviously, it's been a very close series, and it's shades of Florida Kakalaki last year in the Eastern Conference Final, where Carolina's right in every single game and finding a way to lose every single game. And that's why it's the playoffs, folks. Margins are thin. The margin for error is thin, and right now the Rangers are on the right side of that margin so far here in this series. There's no question. And it's all the little things. It's special teams. It's obviously goaltending. And it's just being more opportunistic and finishing the chance when it's there to be, when there's a chance available to you. The New York Rangers are doing a better job finishing right now than the Carolina Hurricanes. That's another thing. So, like I said, this is I felt Carolina to win that series had to win last night. They're now down 3-0. I don't think there's a pathway back. Could they win game 4 at home and avoid the sweep? Sure. But the way the Rangers are going right now, beating this team 4 straight times, especially beating Igor Shesterkin 4 straight times with the way he's been playing, I don't see it happening. I don't. So maybe they stay alive in game 4. We'll get into that more tomorrow on the Saturday show. But I think it's pretty much it for the Hurricanes here. And don't forget, they got swept last year by the Florida Panthers. Now, the difference is that was on the road. They got swept in Florida last year, that 4th game. This is at home. They're not going to want to go out swept at home on that home ice with that crowd that's usually amped up in the playoffs. But not an easy task here for the Carolina Hurricanes. Yeah, John, it looks like the skill players for the Rangers are just making higher level of skill plays than the Carolina Hurricanes and finishing those plays. And Carolina's not. I find Carolina, it's just their offensive puck movement and creativity in the offensive zone is just way more predictable for the defense to try to shut down than it is for the other way with the Rangers and what they're able to do with the puck. in the offensive zone against Carolina, and that's been a huge difference maker as well in the series. You're just seeing a higher level of skill, precision, finishing ability, all of those things for the New York Rangers in this series as compared to the Carolina Hurricanes. So great win for the Rangers. It's nice to see, we're not satisfied just, having our 2 home wins. Let's go for the kill. Yeah, did they have to rely on Shesterkin? Yes. Was the shots on goal count lopsided, 47-25, almost doubled up? Yeah. But I cannot scream and yell like some people are today, saying Carolina is getting absolutely robbed and hosed, and they deserve so much better than being down 3-0, and saying that, they could actually be up in this series. No, because all the elements of playoff hockey, come into play. This is not just we win the 5-on-5 offensive or possession time and offensive zone time and shots on goal count at 5-on-5. We automatically should be leading the series and or automatically should win the series. It doesn't work that way. Like I said, face-offs matter. Physicality matters. The ability to finish, the ability for the game breakers to make game-breaking plays matters. The special teams battle matters. And man, has it mattered in this series. The goaltending matters. And I don't want to say Anderson's been bad. He wasn't. Kochetkov wasn't bad last night. In fact, Kochetkov was very good. But Shesterkin's been just a little bit better than both Carolina goalies. So that's basically what it all comes down to. There's no question. Rangers are full marks for the 3-0. This is not Carolina doesn't deserve the 3-0 deficit. Rangers are, in my opinion, legit 3-0 in this series, and legit they have earned and they have deserved this series lead. Not to me as much, Carolina doesn't deserve this, being down 3-0. So we'll see how Game 4 plays out on Saturday. And then the other game last night, the Dallas Stars, the third period, but especially in the first 2 periods, they defended Colorado. Tremendous defensive play by the Dallas Stars. Colorado didn't generate a whole lot in the first 2 periods. They kept the big guns at bay. And of course, Dallas took advantage of some of the power play opportunities that they had early in that game, including, of course, the big 5-on-3 early where Miro Heiskanen ended up getting them on the board 1-0. I have to say, too, Miro Heiskanen, you want to know why great players are great? Because they can shake off maybe a bad moment or a bad game and come back the next time, especially in the pressure cooker of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and play like they did last night. And I'm talking about Miro Heiskanen. We all saw Miro Heiskanen get absolutely walked on, get beaten in overtime by Miles Wood. That was Miro Heiskanen on the ice. That was Miro Heiskanen who couldn't catch Miles Wood in that overtime game-winning goal for Colorado in Game 1. And to see Miro Heiskanen respond last night, 2 goals, much better in his own end, had a little bit of a physical bent to him as well. Absolutely tremendous bounce-back performance from him. Like I said, Dallas cashed in on some of their chances. They end up extending the lead 4-0. Just a tremendous, by the way, open ice hit, too, in that game. Jamie Benn absolutely shit-rocked, freight-trained Devon Taves behind the net. It was an incredible hit. I really, truly am shocked that there are people, including, and I'm going to give him hell for this if he joins us, Jimmy Murphy, that seem to think that was a headshot and it should have been a penalty or a 5-minute major or maybe even a suspension on Jamie Benn. If we're going to start calling that a headshot, then we might as well just get fucking hitting right out of the game. To me, there was very little. Did he graze maybe the head? Maybe. And I'm being kind when I say that. Maybe. But when I look at that hit, that was mostly a shoulder right into the, this part, right in the neck area, the high chest area. I did not see much, if any, head contact. To me, that's a clean hit. I'm disappointed that Jimmy was on Twitter talking about how he thought that was a headshot. I was stunned by that. And we love Jimmy here, and Jimmy's a friend of ours, and he still is. But that to me, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I'm pulling up Twitter this morning, and one of the first things I see on my feed is that assessment of that hit by Jimmy about Jamie Benn last night. I couldn't believe it. He said, "There it is. I just found it. Principal point of contact is head, and he leaves his feet to go up into the head. That's a headshot. Oh my gosh, Jimmy, what are you thinking here with that? So, like I say, I don't agree with that take at all and that assessment. I think the referees clearly didn't, because they didn't even give a penalty on that play. But it was a great moment. It was a great moment because I do shows with Jimmy the Bag on Fridays earlier in the day, and I was on earlier on his show, as I am every Friday. And he's had issues with Jamie Benn over the years, saying he doesn't want it bad enough. He sometimes looks like he's stoic, like he's totally disengaged emotionally, in some of these Dallas playoff runs in the past. And I think there's some truth to that. I think there's been some times where you have to question, how bad do you want it, Jamie Benn? And there's been some tough playoff performances from him, some playoff years where he hasn't played his absolute best. But I think he's emotionally engaged this year. I'm seeing a guy that cares, that wants it. He makes a big hit like that. I think playing with some of these young kids has really given him a little pep in his step this year, playing with, Wyatt Johnston and Stankoven and so many of these young kids that the Dallas Stars have in the lineup now. So credit to Jamie Benn. Like I said, he's definitely raised it up a notch or two, even, you could say, this year in the playoffs. So it looks like Dallas is home and cool, up 4-0. And look, I was happy because I had the Dallas team total over 3.5. And that's another perfect example of why, especially when you're playing a team with the offensive potential that the Colorado Avalanche have, don't trust the defense and the goaltending. Just bet the team total. Especially, look, Dallas money line was -130 last night. That team total for Dallas was over 3.5, +112, plus money for the Stars team total. I mean, 4-0 at the end of the second period. If the only thing you bet for Dallas was team total, you're fine. You're loving life. You don't have to sweat a damn thing. You're already a winner. You've already cashed your ticket. But if you had Dallas money line in that game last night, it got way too close for comfort down the stretch. And like I said, this is what Colorado can do. I mean, they are never, ever, ever out of a game. Again, Dallas again, just for a little instant there, did take their foot off the gas. It did take a penalty there in the third. It gave some life to Colorado. And then Colorado got it to 4-3 with about 4 minutes to go. And we're like, uh-oh, here we go again. Is this going to be game one, a sequel, if you will, for the Dallas Stars, coughing up a big lead and losing potentially in overtime? But credit to the Stars, gutted it out. Once it got to 4-3, but they put their foot down. It was a very good defensive sequence. Ottinger made a couple of big saves, a couple of huge clearing attempts of the zone during that time. And then eventually they get the empty netter to seal the deal and get the 5-3 win in that game. So, like I say, you could be a little bit frustrated that Dallas let Colorado back into the game, but I don't know if it's as much Dallas let them back in as Colorado, walked their way and pushed their way back into the game, because that's how dangerous they can be, when they get things going on the offensive zone, and they showed it again. And like I said earlier today too on the other show, Dallas, we know, is a good defensive team, especially after getting Tanev, and we know Ottinger is still one of our favorite goaltenders in this league, one of the best goalies in the league. Colorado is one of those teams, you throw that stuff out. Throw that shit in the garbage. Who cares? Who cares what D you have? Who cares what goalie you have? They are just going to be capable of scoring against anybody when they've got it ripping like that. That's all there is to it. They just made the likely Vezina front runner in the first round, Connor Hellebuck, look average, look bad, actually, in that series. That's just how dangerous they are. So whatever offensive output Colorado has in this series, we shouldn't downgrade our opinion of Dallas defensively. We shouldn't say, oh, this Dallas defense, what's wrong with them? They suck. Oh, Ottinger, here we go again, having some issues here in the playoffs. No, this is Colorado's that damn good offensively that they can get their way back into a game down 4 after being down 4 goals against anybody, in my opinion. Anybody. I'm convinced if you put the 90s Devils out there against this Colorado team, even the Devils' lead in a third period wouldn't be safe. I mean it. I mean, that is just how dangerous they are right now, the Colorado Avalanche in a game. And very interesting, I noted as well, that was a very good game yesterday from a betting standpoint. Team total for Dallas, full game over, cashes in. Not only is that 2-0 to the over for the Dallas-Colorado series through the first 2 games so far. Going back now in their last 8 head-to-head meetings, it's now 7-1 to the over between these two teams. And you go back to 4 years ago to when they played each other in the second round of the playoffs in the pandemic season. Remember, in the bubbles, Toronto and Edmonton. It was a Colorado-Dallas series in the second round. The now retired Rick Bowness was still the head coach of the Dallas Stars at the time. Played a 7-game series. Every game except game 6 of that series went over the total. So something about Avs Stars, I mean, it's been offense ruling the roost, if you will. And again, we saw that last night with the Avs and the Stars. But great job. Like I said, great to see Tyler Seguin score. He's had a million chances. Finally buried one shorthanded that ended up being just a massive goal for Dallas at the end of the second period. Rope Hintz, good to see him contribute offensively. It's been tough sledding for him in the playoffs. Just need a little more out of Robertson. And you know what's nice to see for a change for our guy Wyatt Johnston? It was a pretty quiet night from him. Didn't have that big noticeable impact on the game like he's had throughout much of the playoffs. But it was nice to see others step up for the Dallas Stars last night in getting that victory. And I got to say one last thing about this series, and then we'll get to tonight's games. Alexander Georgiev, I'm going to give him some credit finally. Because in game 1, he made a couple of huge saves in overtime before Miles Wood won it for the Avs. And then last night, when Dallas was up at 4-0, and in particular 4-2, and then even when Colorado got close, Georgiev had to make a couple of really good saves, timely saves, to give Colorado a chance to complete the comeback. So, he's had moments where he's looked very good. I still need to see more. I still need to see, Georgiev continue to play well, because I'm not totally on board that, I think he's a goalie I can trust to go all the way. If Colorado's winning a cup, I think it's more because they're going to have to be offensively proficient and efficient like they've been and score 4, 5, 6 goals a game. I don't think they're going to win games 3-1 and rely on the deep goaltending necessarily, Colorado. But the good news is they're so damn good offensively, there's going to be margin for error for Georgiev. He doesn't have to stand on his head, not with the team he's got playing in front of him. So, like I said, great first 2 games of this series. It's going to be a long series. Looking forward to it. Now the scene will shift back to Denver. And keep in mind with this Dallas Stars team, we are talking about one of the absolute best road teams in the NHL this season, or a team that went 2-0 in Vegas in game 3 and 4 of the first round. They're right there with Florida as far as certainly of the teams that are left in the playoffs. Best road teams, Florida and Boston. So again, we'll see if the Dallas Stars can continue that strong play on the road tomorrow night in game 3 when the scene shifts to Denver. All right, let's turn our attention to tonight. We've got 2 playoff matchups, and we will begin with game 3 in the East. Florida Panthers, Boston Bruins. We've got Florida minus 130, road favorites, 5.5 being the total here in this game. Series tied, a game apiece. Great bounce back from Florida in game 2. Really, they kept it. The reason why Florida was so much better than in game 1 is because they did the things they had to get some pucks past Jeremy Swayman. Get pucks, just throw pucks at the net. Look for traffic, look for bodies in front, look for those rebounds. And really the one thing that was surprising about game 1 for Florida is they did not win a lot of battles for loose pucks in front of the net. In fact, that was very surprising because that's usually a trait that you can bank on with the Florida Panthers. But in game 2, they did win a lot of those battles. They got to rebounds. They got second chances. They got third chances, and they were able to get a few of those pucks past Jeremy Swayman in the process. I think this is fascinating here, the way this sets up, because up until game 2 for Jeremy Swayman against Florida, he's been invincible, it feels. He's been awesome. He's been lights out. He's been borderline unbeatable at times, an absolute brick in between the pipes. But now that cloak of invincibility is gone. He finally looked, susceptible. He finally looked like he could be beaten with that onslaught that Florida laid down in game 2. So that's going to be interesting now. Is that performance enough to shake the foundation that the Bruins have built with him in net? Or does he bounce back and does he look like Jeremy Swayman of the Leaf series all over again tonight, and specifically game 1 against Florida? That remains to be seen. But now for the first time, we've seen him beaten Okay, now for the first time in these playoffs, we've seen him not only beaten, but taken out of the net. He's got to come back from a loss. He's got to come back from a subpar showing. And we're going to have to see how he fares here in this game tonight. And I agree with Jim Montgomery going back to Jeremy Swayman. You just cannot go back right away to Allmark. Allmark does have good numbers against Florida. I know people have mentioned that. That is fact. Linus Allmark does have very good numbers against Florida, but you are not going to completely and utterly pull the cord on Jeremy Swayman after just one game and one subpar game. You're not. And by the way, the team had a lot to do with Jeremy Swayman's struggles too. They didn't do a good job clearing the front of the net in game 2 like they did in game 1. So very fascinating to see how Jeremy Swayman responds tonight. Can he get back to that level that we saw in the first round and obviously game 1 of this second round series? And on the flip side, look, for Florida, they found something. You know what you're going to get from them. You're going to get that hard, intense, crash the net mentality. A guy that plays that way is Sam Bennett, who, of course, has been out now for Florida for the last few games. But after missing the last 5 games, there's a chance he's back tonight. Game time decision, says Paul Maurice, with the upper body injury. I think if he doesn't play tonight, you'll definitely see him in game 4 on Sunday night in Boston. But, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. You know how I feel about Florida on the road. This is an unbelievable road team. Just incredible they've been on the road this season. Tremendous road record. They enter this game 27-12, 2-2 on the road. In fact, they have one road win more than the Boston Bruins have home wins, believe it or not. So that tells you just how good, the Florida Panthers have been on the road, entering these playoffs and all season the way they've played on the road. I'm going to take Florida here, -1. I think it's -125 now is what we're seeing in this game. I'm going to take Florida at that price, -125 here in game 3. I am aware that we know Boston won game 1, Florida won game 2. Boston, after getting their clocks cleaned, is going to want to bounce back and respond strong here in game 3 tonight. There's no doubt, but this is just a very, very reasonable price to me, at least. See, this is what I was hoping for. Like, to me, I was not fully on board with taking Florida at home, laying those big prices. But now you're going to get Florida now laying a very reasonable -125 on the road where they've been just phenomenal, quite honestly, all season. So I do like Florida money line here for the full game, -125. But I am also, though, going to take Boston to score in the first period because, look, that angle's just been too good. I've talked about that throughout the course of the Stanley Cup playoffs, how good it has been to take the team that lost the previous game of the series to score a goal in the first period of the next game. And I do think we've got that opportunity for Boston to get one here in the opening period. -135 is the price for that at BetMGM. So, like I said, it's a weird approach that I'm taking here, but it's an approach I think that makes some sense to me where, yeah, Boston can get on the board early, feed off that crowd and that energy of TD Garden. I think they'll be jumping early after getting bombed, 6-1 the other night against Florida. But like I said, for the full 60 minutes, if Florida can impose their will, how much dangerous it can be. So I think that angle makes sense to me. It's Boston early. It's kind of the reverse of last night where I liked Carolina early, but I didn't fully trust them for the full game and thought, even if Carolina starts strong, the Rangers are still live to win that game. Same thing here. I think Boston does start strong, gets on the board in the first 20 minutes, but even if they do, I think Florida's live to stick around, hang around in that game, and eventually end up coming out the victor. So that's the way I'm going to approach it here with this game. Boston in the first period to score, -135, and also Florida full game money line here, -125. This is definitely feels to me, I love my overs, but I don't feel good about it here. This feels like Rangers Hurricanes a little bit in the sense that game 1 went over, game 2 went over, things kind of went off the rails, in those 2 games at Madison Square Garden. Things got back to Carolina last night, and what did we see? We saw a very, very concerted effort defensively, a stronger effort defensively. All the penalties we saw too in game 2, you would think both teams are going to probably do their best to maybe avoid, some of the fracases, not take as many penalties, not be in the box nearly as much. So I do believe this is an under type of game, an under type of spot here for game 3 tonight with the Bruins and the Panthers. So like I said, we're going to look toward Boston first period to score, Florida money line here in this game. And then for props in this one, again, not to be repetitive, but a lot of the same stuff we've talked about. Zaka to get a point, Geeky to get a point and or a goal, because we've seen him make an impact here offensively in this series. This feels like a game maybe Trent Frederick scores. I find he does a little more offensive damage on home ice, and this could be one of those spots for him potentially. Charlie Coyle needed to get going offensively. He finally contributed in game 2. Does that get him going? We'll see. For Florida, really don't overthink it. Barkov assist, Reinhart goal, Verhaeghe goal, Kachuk goal. Those are the guys that are going to get it done, and so bank on them for sure. I do want to mention, though, Kuhlman Lusterinen, who I actually had a piece of his goal prop in game 2 the other night, but it looks like he's going to slide back down to the third line with Stenlund and Rodriguez here tonight in this one. So we'll see how it goes. But like I said, I think Boston does score in the first period, but I think Florida still has got a great chance to end up getting the victory here. Yeah, Ekblad's playing, says Scott asking about Ekblad, I believe. Yep. Ekblad's playing, DeBrusk's playing. They're both in for their respective teams, Ekblad and DeBrusk in game 3 tonight. So, yeah, they are both in. Montour as well. You're right. I forgot about Montour. Montour scored the other night. He's done well against the Bruins. So the goal prop, assist prop, point prop, if you want to maybe take a chance on the power play point prop with him, you definitely can. So we'll see how that goes. And like I said, for Boston right now, it looks like other than Heinen still being out, it looks like Boquist is out, and it's going to be a Jakub Lauko, Beecher, Maroon fourth line. Other than that, as of right now, the forward group looks to be the same, and it looks like it's going to be one change on the blue line. Grzelcyk is still out. Shattenkirk's a healthy scratch. Parker Wotherspoon is coming out, it looks like, for Boston, because Andrew Peeke, who actually played very well in the early part of the first round series against Toronto before he got injured, he is going to be back in on the Bruins blue line tonight. Andrew Peeke, a guy they got from Columbus at the trade deadline. So, and I like the way he played. He was very sturdy, sound in his own zone. He'll be paired with Derek Forbort. I can understand why Jim Montgomery likes Forbort in there. Forbort has been blocking a lot of shots. He's been pretty good on the penalty kill, keeping him with Peeke, Lindholm, Carlo, and Lowry and McAvoy, the remainder of the defense tonight for the Boston Bruins. So looking forward to that. Very intriguing game 3 there. Equally intriguing game 2 in the West with the Edmonton Oilers and the Vancouver Canucks. Edmonton minus 125, road favorites here in game 2. The total 6 pretty much across the board. Vancouver leading this series 1-0. I mean, if you were to gauge game 1 based on the 5-on-5 play, Vancouver was the better team, and it wasn't close. If you really look, they had that too many men penalty early power play. Right after that, it was a bad giveaway by Ian Cole that gave Edmonton a 2-0 lead. And then after that first period, as far as 5-on-5 play is concerned, Vancouver owned the game. They had the puck most of the night. They had majority of the quality looks and the quality chances from the beginning of the second period onward. And, it felt like, boy, how is this team down 4-1? Because they had a great second period. They made it 2-1 with the Dakota Joshua goal. They had a bunch of really good looks to maybe tie that game 2-2. And then all of a sudden, we thought at the time might be daggers for Edmonton and would be enough to seal the game for them possibly, were the back-to-back quick goals. Ceci to make it 3-1 from that point shot, and then that unfortunate goal for Artur Shilovs and the Canucks where the puck just ticks off the stick of Myers and it goes in through the wickets to make it 4-1. And you thought at that point, that's probably it for Vancouver. But they got that late second period goal from Elias Lindholm to make it 4-2. Then in the third period, Edmonton didn't have a shot for almost the first 15 minutes of the third period. Vancouver had the puck almost the whole time. Outstanding job by them. And sure enough, they got the JT Miller redirection goal, which was just a deft touch by him around the net. A clapper from the blue line through traffic from Nikita Zadorov, Big Z to tie the game. Place is going nuts. And then after that, the Connor Garland goal to go up 5-4. Now, I will say this about the Garland goal. That's the one Skinner's got to have. And it was a great play by Garland to fake the shot, get Skinner to open up the old wickets and slide it 5-hole. And that's a credit to Garland for making that kind of a great move. Fake the shot, get Skinner to bite, open up the legs, open up the 5-hole, and then find the opening in between the wickets. And he did that. And you got to give Garland a lot of credit for that because that was a nice goal. But at the same time, if you're Skinner and you're on the receiving end of that, you got to make that save. And you can't bite on the fake shot like he did. There's no question. So, and then of course at the end, Vancouver, the commitment to blocking shots, Brock Besser blocking shots, Ian Cole, Tyler Myers blocking shots, JT Miller, right when the clock expired, right when time expired, blocking one last shot at the end to preserve that game. Incredible comeback by Vancouver to win 5-4. So Edmonton, loses that game. It's a missed opportunity. Just like it was for Dallas. And look, we saw Dallas respond after losing a tough game 1. But they were at home. Edmonton's on the road, and Edmonton's got, concerns up front. Adam Henrique is doubtful to play again. And more importantly, we saw Leon Draisaitl miss a portion of game 1. We thought maybe it was cramping. I think it's his back, to be quite honest with you. I truly think that's what it is. It's more, I think his back is seized up again. We'll have to wait and see, but he's questionable for game 2. The fact that they had Sam Gagner as a placeholder on the second line in practice yesterday, I'm not going to rule Leon Draisaitl out tonight, but I'm not overly optimistic either that he's going to suit up in this game here for the Oilers tonight. So that's something that bears monitoring going into game 2 tonight. We'll see how it unfolds. To me, look, for Edmonton, you just got to be better at 5-on-5 even strength. I mean, this has been at times the knock on the Oilers. And you were good at 5-on-5 with LA, but your power play was lethal. Your power play in this series may not be the walk all over you power play that it was for them against Los Angeles in the first round, because as much as I was after the first period saying, what the hell could Vancouver be thinking? A too many men penalty in the first minute of the game against a power play that you damn well know is elite. How could you set the tone for the series like that? How could you start a game that way, especially on home ice? A too many men penalty in the first damn shift of the game, and you give this vaunted power play that opportunity. But look at Vancouver the rest of the game after that. They didn't give up a power play opportunity to Edmonton the rest of the game. That was it. So give the Canucks credit. And I'm sure Tocchet said something after the too many men, and especially after Hyman scored right away on the power play. Stay out of the damn box. Don't beat yourself. Make sure we get our line changes right and correct, and we don't screw those up and get penalized. Make sure, we're moving our feet. Make sure we're not hooking and holding, and we're winning puck battles, and we're gaining body position so that we don't have to be in a spot where we have to take penalties. I'm sure Rick Tocchet definitely went through that with his team. There's no doubt. And then the rest of the game, penalty-free for the Vancouver Canucks. That is their formula to win games in this series and to also possibly win this series. If they can do that and they can keep this a 5-on-5 series and force Edmonton to have to do most of their damage offensively at even strength, you give yourself a better chance. Can Edmonton be capable offensively at even strength? Yes. But to me, they're not as consistent with their offensive production at 5-on-5 even strength play compared to their, obviously electrifying, dangerous, lethal power play. So if you're the Vancouver Canucks, that's where it starts tonight. Keep this series at 5-on-5. You're going to give yourself a much better chance. And that's exactly what we saw in game 1. They got the power play goal. There was the giveaway that led to the second goal, which was even strength. And then after that, it was a 5-on-5 game for the most part in Vancouver's favor, and Vancouver had the better of the play. That is what is going to be critical here for the Canucks tonight and moving forward. This is a really tricky side for me because I don't have a side pregame. I'll be honest. The more I think about this game, you would think bet Edmonton off the loss. I'd lean Vancouver if I'm betting the full game money line at this price plus 105. I would lean Vancouver here tonight, but I do know that Edmonton's going to be chomping at the bit. I do, with or without Leon Draisaitl, and I don't want to step in front of them in this particular spot. But like I said, at this current price, I would lean Vancouver. But here's how I've approached it. I'm back on that same angle that I mentioned with the Boston-Florida game. We've got the losing team of the previous game score a goal in the first period. Now, this one's a little pricey, right? Minus 165. So I'm keeping that bet small, but it's been too good, this angle. The losing team of the previous game getting on the board in the first period. And it's a minus 165 at BetMGM with that. So Edmonton to score in the first period. I'm back on the full game over again tonight here with these two teams. Over 6 minus 120. You look back at Canucks Oilers, and you will find that of all the recent head-to-head meetings we've seen between these two teams, and I mentioned this on the Betting with the Bag show as well earlier today, you go back and you look at the last 8 meetings since the beginning of last season, October 12th, 2022, 8 head-to-head matchups, Vancouver versus Edmonton. 7 of those 8 games have had at least 6 total goals in the game. At least 6. 7 of the last 8 head-to-head meetings between these teams. Styles make fights sometimes, and when you look at this matchup here for Edmonton, they're going to have to crank it up. Connor McDavid's going to have to crank it up. And as much as Vancouver's got the capability to play a disciplined game where game 1, all they took was that early too many men penalty, and they kept their nose clean for the rest of the game, I get that sense that, Edmonton's going to get a few more calls and a few more power play chances here tonight. And if that happens, they've got the opportunity to connect. And if that does happen, then it opens up the game. So I'm back on the over here, over 6 minus 120. I actually did consider the over by Fecta again, but, first period over as well. And I'm just taking a look at the series history. And I think most of these games, too, that have went over the total, I think first period overs were good in most of them, too. I'm just going back and I'm looking. Yeah, I'll sprinkle on the first period over, but I defer more to the full game over 6 here tonight with the Oilers and the Canucks. And then as far as props go, keep an eye on this. There looks like there's going to be a change here as far as who's going to fill that spot with McDavid and Hyman on the top line for Edmonton. It was Matthias Janmark in game 1. Okay, it was Matthias Janmark in game 1. It doesn't look like it's going to be him tonight. Chris Knobloch is opting, I think, for a little more offense, a little more speed on that top line tonight. And it looks like Warren Foegele is currently penciled in to be on the top line for Edmonton tonight with McDavid and Hyman. So what that means is we bet Warren Foegele props, just like we did Janmark the other night. Now, it didn't pan out with Janmark. It didn't pay off for us. But we're going, that's a logical, sound betting philosophy that we want to take whoever's on the top line with McDavid and Hyman, because the value is going to be there with whoever it is. And it looks like as of right now, unless something changes in the pregame skate that we'll see tonight, that it's going to be Warren Foegele on the top line for Edmonton. And you can get him upwards of plus 430 to score a goal tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. So, Warren Foegele, definitely shots on goal props, as Rich H suggests in the chat. I agree with that. But Foegele plus 430 to score a goal. It's tremendous value there. I definitely am on that. Evander Kane, since he's been on the second line, now Draisaitl may not play, so this changes everything. And Draisaitl being a nice facilitator for Kane has been a big thing as far as his success on that second line. But so I'd pump the brakes until I know if Draisaitl's in the net. I kind of feel Dylan Holloway. Someone mentioned Dylan Holloway. He had a penalty the other night, which wasn't the best penalty. He's a kid, though, that had a bad game 1 against LA, and he responded in game 2 and played a lot better. So I just got a feeling that Dylan Holloway might be worth a look here as far as a little bit of a more down-the-board shot for scoring a goal tonight. And then for Vancouver, look, Miller and Besser, they're always worth a look. They've been great playoff performers for them. I'm not jumping off the Pius Suter Express. He's still on the top line for the Vancouver Canucks. So I like Pius Suter. You're still getting great value on him as long as he stays up there with Miller and Besser on that top unit, plus 440 along those lines for him to score a goal. Dakota Joshua, Lindholm, and Garland. I mean, that third line, don't sleep on them. And you talk about a line that's been impactful. Certainly was impactful in game number 1. Joshua, all 3 members of that line scored for the Vancouver Canucks in game 1. So Joshua, plus 400, to find the back of the net tonight. Elias Lindholm, when you look at him, plus 350. FanDuel, he's, by the way, shown me some things the last few games of upping his game at the right time of year. Playoff time, get things rolling a bit. He's plus 350 to score a goal. And then, of course, Connor Garland, who had the game winner, plus 320 for him to score a goal. So I think that third line, look, they clearly, especially on home ice, they have shown the ability to make an impact and have that chemistry together, play in the offensive zone, get in on the forecheck, generate chances. And like I say, I think there's good player prop value with all 3 of those guys on that Vancouver Canucks third line right now. Dakota Joshua, Elias Lindholm, and Connor Garland right now. So like I said, there's definitely some good value as far as maybe looking at them for props in this game tonight. My number one player prop, certainly my number one shots on goal prop is Connor McDavid over 3.5 shots on goal. Probably becomes even stronger, this bet, if Draisaitl is out. He's going to hear it. He knows it. He knows he didn't have a shot on goal in game 1. He knows he didn't have a good game at all. He was invisible, in fact. Couldn't find him with a telescope by Connor McDavid standards in game 1. He knows he has to rectify that. And we've watched Connor McDavid enough in his career to know that when he has a game where he has very little impact on the game and has 0 shots or 1 shot, very negligible impact in the game, he's going to do everything he can to respond in game 2. And this feels like one of those nights too. Don't be scared maybe to look at, I like the over 3.5 shots on goal, plus 115 on Connor McDavid, but this is definitely one where maybe think, 5 shots, 6 shots on goal. Maybe the ladder comes into play for Connor McDavid with his shots on goal. Get even more plus money and bigger plus price with those. So, like I said, it's just I've seen this too much from McDavid in the past, where he has a game where he does nothing, few if any shots on goal, and then the next game, at least from a shot volume perspective, he explodes. Now, will he convert these chances and shots into goals and assists and points? That remains to be seen tonight. But like I said, definitely I think this is that I got up my ante type of game here right now for McDavid as far as the shots on goal numbers tonight in this game, over 3.5. Again, plus money, plus 115. I do like that. Warren Fogle, like I said, over shots. The over 1.5, Josh makes a good point. It's too juiced at over 1.5, minus 195. Bet 365, you can do milestone props. You can do shots on goal props that give you plus money. If you think, obviously they're going to have to have more shots on goal to cash those bets. But again, at Bet 365, you can bet the milestones. Actually, FanDuel as well, really good for that. And you can get, for instance, in the Edmonton-Vancouver game, you can get Warren Fogle. If you don't like to lay the juice with Fogle over 1.5 shots, minus 200 in some places, you can take Warren Fogle to get 3 shots on goal or more, plus 155. 4 shots on goal or more, plus 375, 5 or more, plus 750. And remember, this guy's going to be on the top line here for the Edmonton Oilers, it looks like, tonight. So we'll see about that. Maddie, be careful with Janmark. Janmark's down on the third line tonight. I'm not saying he can't get, 2 or 3 shots on goal tonight. We'll see. But by the way, I don't even think he's listed, quite honestly, for shots on goal now because he's been moved down the line. Yeah, I don't see Janmark shots anywhere, Matt, available at the moment. Vogel's available because I think the books are aware he's going to be on the top line tonight probably. So we will see. But like I said, those are the looks here. I like the McDavid over shots. I like Fogle over shots. And Fogle to score a goal. Suter to score a goal. Anybody on that third line for Vancouver if you're looking for value. Joshua, Lindholm, and Garland. I mean, the chemistry from them in game 1 was off the charts. And yeah, wouldn't surprise me to see them make an impact again here tonight. Hopefully I made an impact with you guys with great analysis and great insight and some hopefully good betting opportunities here for game 3 for Boston, Florida, game 2 for Edmonton, Vancouver tonight. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. 380 live viewers. A reminder, we have 2 live betcasts coming up next week. They are both Patreon exclusive. Tuesday and Thursday next week are the dates for the betcasts. Tuesday, May 14th, Thursday, May 16th. 2 Ice Guys Stanley Cup playoff live betcasts. We're looking forward to those. Both of them will start at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Actually, I shouldn't say for sure they'll start at 7 p.m. Eastern time. If the first game is 7 p.m. Eastern time, then it'll start at 7 p.m. There might be a night or two where it's a 7:30. If it's, basically whenever the first game of the night is, that's when the betcast will start. But there will be one on Tuesday next week and Thursday next week. Both of them are Patreon exclusive, which means the only way you can tune in and join us for these 2 betcasts next week is sign up, just $10 per month, patreon.com/iceguys. You'll not only have access to our Patreon exclusive live Stanley Cup playoff betcasts next week, and for the remainder of the betcasts that we have that are Patreon exclusive for the rest of the playoffs, but you'll also get our daily sides, totals, and player props posted on the page each and every day. Well, sides, goalie charts, totals charts, and plenty more bonus content, especially in the off season. I know there's going to be people that say, I don't want to sign up now with this being so late in the season. Well, we're going to have a ton of off-season content on the Patreon page exclusively for members, exclusive videos, exclusive content. We're thinking about making our free agency recap show exclusive to Patreon this year. We always do that, Alex and I, in July after free agency. That might be a Patreon exclusive event this year. So again, we're going to be bringing you a lot of off-season content. We're going to do the Players Suite interview series during the off season. We've got some great interviews with current and former players planned in the off season, just like we had last year. We had some great conversation. We had Marc-Antoine Pouliot last year. We had Mark Bell last year. We had some really, really good interviews in the off season. So we're bringing back the Players Suite interview series exclusively on Patreon this summer during the off season. So looking forward to that. All that and more, $10 per month. Sign up, patreon.com/iceguys, and also check out the store. Make sure you get your gear and your merch over at the Ice Guys store at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bet coming up right after we hear from our great sponsors. All right, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out. Get 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code ICEGUYS at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night for this Friday night slate. I'm going to go back to the same concept. Swing and a miss with Janmark the other night, taking this concept of the top line player moving on up to play with McDavid and Hyman. I feel better about taking a shot with it tonight. Let's be real. Warren Foegele is a much better offensive player than Matthias Janmark. Warren Foegele can score goals. Warren Foegele can finish chances. Janmark did have a really good chance in game one chance, and of course he couldn't finish the deal. Foegele has a better probability of finishing some of these great chances he may see playing on the top line with Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman. So I like going back to that same concept, hopefully with better results tonight. playing on the top line with Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman, at least slated to as of right now. Warren Fogle, Edmonton Oilers, plus 430 to score a goal tonight. That is going to be my bargain bin special of the night for this Friday NHL slate. And my best bet for this Friday slate, we're going to go back to what we cashed with in game 1 of that Oilers Canucks series, and that is Edmonton Vancouver over 6 minus 120. We're just going to go right back to the well. 7 of the last 8 meetings have seen 6 or more goals. It's been a higher scoring series. I'm not sure it changes tonight. I think Vancouver has shown 5-on-5 they can work over that Edmonton defense, and I think tonight there'll be a few more power plays coming for the Edmonton Oilers, and all they need is 1 or 2 attempts and to convert, and it could open up the game. So Canucks Oilers over 6 minus 120 for my best bet here for this Friday night. And I do want to mention before we wrap up the show, shout out to Jordan Sambrook, our friend who was on a friend of the show, who's been on our betcasts a few times, has been a guest on the show in the past. A great assist, albeit fortuitous, kind of fanned on a shot. It ended up rolling to Logan Lambden, his teammate with the Florida Everblades, in Game 4 of their ECHL Kelly Cup second-round series. Unfortunately, Florida lost the game to Orlando, the Solar Bears, 3-2. So Florida was looking to complete the sweep, but they're still up 3-1 in that series. So shout out to Jordan Sambrook getting on the score sheet last night with an assist for the Florida Everblades. And their series will resume tomorrow night, Game 5, as Florida looks to close out the series once again against Orlando there. And I'm watching it, so because we got a friend of ours involved. So shout out to Jordan Sambrook. That's a wrap. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Friday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Saturday for another edition of the Ice Guys.